Good evening and happy Monday, everybody. I hope you all had a refreshing and sanctifying weekend. With just a few updates for the channel. First off, this is going to be my last stream from Washington D.C. And next week I will be en route home on Monday, so there won't be any stream next week. You'll have to find some other way to spend your Monday evening there. And after 2 weeks from now, we're going to be starting the stream at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, back an hour from our start at 7:30 Eastern Time here. So just to be aware of that, and the ticker will continue to remind you throughout the duration of the stream. And just in case you're interested, I did pass my comprehensive exams last week. That went pretty smoothly, and I still just have some finishing touches to put on my thesis before I complete my degree program. Hopefully, that won't take too much longer. A bit of a story behind that, but we'll leave that for another time. So this weekend for me was had a number of goodbyes with it. People are beginning to go their own ways at the end of the summer semester. A few of us are still in town. I'm still also finishing up a class that'll be done on Thursday, and then we're just starting to drift off on our own ways. So I had a pretty interesting weekend, and one of them was not a goodbye, but it was a greeting. On Friday night, by pure happenstance, I happened to go out with a group of people where I knew a couple of them. And then most of them were strangers, not only strangers to me, but strangers to the United States of America. It was a group of students and a couple of professors from a university in northern Italy, a Catholic university in northern Italy there. And yeah, just a complete, very, very odd how I ended up with this group. We don't have to worry about the details of it. But I got to talk to some of these students from Italy, and one of them in particular, one of the hosts was like, yeah, he's going to be the next Thomas Aquinas. And I'm like, okay, we'll see about that. But he was a very bright young fellow from a university student from northern Italy. And he seemed to be quite eager to talk about theology and those sorts of things. You got the sense that he had been kind of recently, turned his eyes towards this subject, and it was very passionate about it. So it was fun to talk with him. He's probably an undergraduate student, so still, in a position where he's learning a lot very quickly, and it was fun to talk with him. He's very intent. This young man was very intent on being faithful to the magisterium of the church, not only when it was convenient and sounds good, but also when it was going to be inconvenient for him. And so he was quite intent on, we need to lean into some of the more unpopular positions of the Catholic Church, like women's ordination and abortion and contraception and all of those sorts of things. And none of that I disagree with at all. I don't think we should be trying to Mott and Bailey people or to run away and be ashamed of these things, because as far as I'm concerned, we're pretty outrageously correct about everything, and we've got nothing to be afraid of. But as I was listening to him here we've got this very intelligent, very systematic fellow. I just interrupted him, and I interrupted him a few times during that night, because I'm still older than him and know more than him, and I can hopefully teach him a few things. So I interrupted him, in the midst of all of this. We need to lean into the theology. We need to lean into the controversial doctrines. I'm like, that's fine, and none of it, what you're saying is wrong, but I don't think that's how you're going to change, souls, and specifically, guys like you and I, a little more on the rational end of things, a little more on the spiritual end of things. And we could be convinced by some of these arguments, but a lot of people aren't going to be convinced by these arguments. And you come in with arguments, you're going to put up their defenses. And just listening to him, I just said, uh, we need to be able to transform and impact people's imaginations first if we're going to have broad appeal on these things. You'll get a few people with rational arguments, but having that impact on their imagination and the kind of story that they're telling themselves, that'll have a much broader impact. And to his credit, he didn't double down and argue with me on that point. He probably thought it was correct, and maybe he's had enough experience with his classmates to know that not every argument works on every person there. And this was just something that struck me again during this conversation, and thinking about it, what's the most effective way to actually put that into practice? Talking about transforming people's imaginations and that sort of thing. Um, it's all fine and good to talk about that, but like, what do we actually do in order to make that happen? And that's a different question right there. And as far as I can tell, you got to start with the person that you got the most influence on over. You got to start with yourself. If you really want to change people's minds, change people's hearts, you've got to go and get at the imagination, and like, what's going to impact their imagination more so than your own character and your own person. You have to be able to, at least inconsistently, begin to embody the sorts of things that you want to see in the world there. And hopefully, upon encountering you, that might, spark a change, spark a conversation with somebody. That might be an occasion for transformation for somebody. This reminds me of something that St. John Paul II wrote in his document on the formation of priests. He wrote this in the early 90s. And I don't have an exact quote here, but he says that the humanity of the priest is supposed to be a bridge between God and man. And he didn't mean that strictly in the sacramental sense, although the sacramental sense is certainly the way that's manifested par excellence. But even in the way that the priest lives and the sort of man that he is, that should be a bridge to God for people, and not an obstacle. So I think that's another way of talking about this. So we want to transform people. We want to help them live better lives. We want to set them on the right path. How do we go about that? We got to transform their imaginations. And what's going to be the most effective way to transform somebody else's imagination is going to be slowly but surely transforming yourself and your own character into the sort of person that somebody else might want to draw near to and cooperate with and imitate. So, as St. Paul says, be imitators of me as I imitate Christ. So that's all I've got for our opening rant tonight. I didn't sleep well last night, so we'll see how much energy I have. But maybe one of you could help me spark a little conversation here. But you must be careful. Be very, very careful, because anything could happen on a stream like this. What do we got going on in the comment section? We've got Geo there, Landworker Gardener of Soul, Hearts on Fire. We've got our link here. Go ahead and click on that link and join us. Mark wants to know about the tomatoes. So our cook here at St. Anthony's, we've got 6 priests and a hermit living. Oh, here we go. Living here at St. Anthony's, and she made them into a delicious cold salad with like some cucumbers and stuff. And there's nothing quite like fresh, juicy tomatoes in a salad like that on a hot day in Washington, D.C. Just want to mention to Dot here that when you're ready to come on, just let me know, and then I will let you on. Jan God thinks that 50% of everyone has no mind's eye or no inner monologue or both. I'm not sure how you'd measure that. It would all be self-reported. So, take that with a grain of salt. But certainly, some people are more apt to be moved by their passions than by their reason. There's just, you know, it's just inequalities between human beings. Not anything we need to worry about particularly. So, yeah. So, yes, the tomatoes were delicious, Mark, and lots of people, not just me, but like the whole table got to enjoy them. So,
good. All right. No, just Sarah kept asking me, and I kept forgetting to ask, and I was
okay. We've got that settled.
my
The
life was on
tomatoes
the
were
line.
enjoyed. They did not go bad in the refrigerator.
They
Maria,
needed to be enjoyed. That's all.
yeah.
As long as they were enjoyed, I think that's fine.
Maria was very happy to have garden fresh tomatoes. She's very, very big on not having the pesticides and all of that nasty stuff in there. So, yeah. Inner arguments aren't inner arguments the best, Mark? You always win, and then you always, feel so clever and handsome with inner arguments. At least I do. I don't know how you feel. I couldn't possibly have access to that information. I'm just actually imagining that you're the sort of person who has inner arguments. Maybe you don't need to go through all of that.
Inner arguments are the best. The Protestants relied on them quite heavily to great effect of destroying everything. Jeez, I got into the playlist on Ryan Reeves' YouTube channel is messed up, so I was missing some of the Luther stuff, which I filled in. And like, the more you learn about Luther, the more you're like, you've got to be kidding me. Did anybody ever listen to anything this guy had to say? But then I got into Calvin, and I'm like halfway through the Calvin stuff, and I had to stop off and do the C.S. Lewis. His C.S. Lewis and Tolkien classes, par excellence, like right up there. Really good. Like all kinds of stuff you wouldn't know otherwise. It's very, very level about it. But you get like through Calvin, and then all of a sudden you realize these guys are just writing books back and forth, answering each other, and in some cases just flat out copying each other. And I'm like, this is the agenosis key that I didn't have before. Here it is. It's right here. They're all just writing books. That's all they. So you should only listen to the Bible. The Bible is the truth. And here's an annotation to the Bible to fill in all these things that aren't in the Bible, by the way. But you should only listen to the Bible. I'm like, no one caught this. No one. It doesn't occur to anybody that maybe that's just a big fat lie, and everything they say is false, huh? Big fat lie, and everything they say is false. I don't know.
I mean, like the second I heard about the doctrine of the perspicuity of Scripture, I was like, there's no way that's going to work.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, too. These guys are supremely retarded. I'm like, if these are your big thinkers, then it really was the Dark Ages, guys. These are not big thoughts from big thinkers. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a and it goes wrong in exactly the ways you would expect immediately, almost retroactively. Like, Calvin's in Geneva, and John Knox visits him, and he's like just trying to get him to say it's okay if you get rid of your ruler. It's okay. And of course, Calvin has no such illusions, because the whole project relies on shifting the control of the Pope to the control of the sovereign. So they can't get rid of sovereigns. They don't believe in any of that. Like, you're going to listen to your sovereign. Your sovereign says your sovereign's sovereign over the church, and all Protestantism in the beginning, all of it. And so Knox gets no satisfaction, goes back up, starts writing these books about why women can't be rulers. Even after Knox was like, bro, it's right here in the Bible, dude. Like, it's right here. It's in the thing the book. Nope. Doesn't stop Knox. He goes after the woman aspect, and yeah, because he can't find, justification for just overthrowing all leadership. And I'm like, and then Calvin's name, Calvin gets blamed immediately, right? There's the stupid dust up with the Anabaptists who are all violent, which just that went through me. That really cracks me up. That they
like all the crazy stuff at Moonster.
Yeah.
Yeah, wild,
Yeah.
wild. It's
They're
nice
violent
when
polygamists. They're violent polygamists. Like it's a hell of a history, guys. I'm amazed.
yeah, yeah. So, what went wrong in their imaginations then? If we're going to take the premise of today's opening rant seriously,
Well, the problem with your imagination is that everything in your imagination is correct, true, and perfect. Right? It's a contrast to the
Mhm.
reality, so that you know what
Mhm.
reality is. Like, oh, well, in a perfect world, right? This would have
But I kind
happened,
of
or
feel
that
like
would
you
have.
want to have the right stuff, to contrast against. Like that ends up being really important. I don't know. It's all trying to, like I've just thankfully the Odyssey discourse seems to be dying down a little bit, and everybody's kind of settled into their opinions. I'm getting a little tired of it. But that sort of who was
Some people are watching the Odyssey with people who've been dead for several decades. So I don't know, man.
Well, I would like to remind you that not only this YouTube channel, but the entire Catholic Church is against necromancy. If you want somebody risen from the dead, it has to be done by intercessory prayer alone. So,
I'm not
yeah.
opposed. I don't, and I have been in a writing group. Of course, like don't be silly.
So
Ooh,
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. I'm interested in it. I'm curious about it, but I also don't want to start amplifying it until I'm sure of all of this heavenly council stuff here. Um, so a lot of it seems to work, and I talk about it. Um, there was a couple times I did kind of bring it up in a talk, right? Not a homily, but a talk. But I've kind of backed off that a little bit, and Dr. John Bergsma, Steubenville University and the St. Paul Center. He came out last fall and gave a presentation to us priests for the Fargo Diocese. Wonderful, wonderful presentations. He's just you fill your imagination up with good things, which is exactly what you want there. And I went and like in between some talks, I'm like, hey, like there's this guy, his name's Father Stephen, he's an Orthodox priest. This stuff's interesting. Do you know anything about it? Is it any good? Right? Because you know just like with movies, I could be dazzled. I could be dazzled by a slick presentation of something that ultimately doesn't have a good foundation on it. And I would hope that these biblical scholars at the St. Paul Center, gathered together by the great and almighty Scott Hahn, would be able to sort this out. So I'm hoping that at some point, and then he gave me his card, Dr. Bergsma, and he said, "Shoot me an email about this." So I did, and then he emailed me back and said, "Yeah, we'll look into it." And I know he was especially very busy with some things going on in his life at that time. So I'm just hoping that we could get some of these big brain biblical scholars from the St. Paul Center to weigh in on this, because it's outside my expertise. Um, if they were talking about canon law or something that I really know, but with this biblical studies stuff, you got to be really, cautious when it comes to integrating something new. And it's always safe for us to stick with Augustine. And I know Father Stephen DeYoung would disagree with Augustine on certain points. And so, I'm not saying we need to throw it out, but I'm approaching it cautiously.
What is this? What is this thing that you're approaching?
Oh, this would be like the Heavenly Council stuff would be especially popularized by the Lord of Spirits podcast.
Oh,
So their whole project there.
oh my
But
God! How can
she,
anybody listen to them with all the freaking insider baseball, church father insider baseball stuff they do?
well, maybe you're already familiar with the Church Fathers, and it's not
Oh,
insider baseball. It's just jargon that you're comfortable with.
oh,
There are
it's
benefits to membership, Mark. There are benefits to membership. As I'm going to remind you at least weekly.
There are benefits. Not weekly, because you're betraying us by not having a stream. What, you just Is that just because you're on the road or something lame? Is that what's
Yep.
going on?
That's 100% it.
Lame. So lame.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. So what is their plan is to, like, none of these people has any freaking idea what they're talking about, right? So what is it that they think they're going to do, and what result do they expect, and when that doesn't happen, are they going to change their minds, or are they going to be the same recalcitrant jerks they are now?
I don't know. All I know is that my computer's running irritatingly slow right now.
Why? What did you do to it? Why don't you be nice to your computer? Maybe it'll be nice to you.
I think the RAM's kind of full.
Full RAM. Just gonna close all
Yeah.
those ridiculous browser windows.
But I like them. They're so useful.
You can usually get them all back, so it's not like a
Yeah, I just got them
thing.
pinned just how I want. And then when I close them, I got to repin everything. So anyway, 2 weeks from now, I should be back on with my proper rig rather than my laptop here.
Oh, that's true. You get a much better rig in Fargo.
I have 4 times the RAM on that, which is now worth its weight in gold. Apparently,
I know you should sell it.
It's only DDR4, so it's not that expensive.
I don't know. I heard you can't get any RAM. I was looking. We were in Charlotte to drop the car off. It's going to be there forever. I had to drop the car off, and we went to Micro Center because there's a Micro Center. You know, like, how can you not go to Micro Center when there's a Micro Center nearby? And I was looking at the big cards, the big NVIDIA cards, and there's one with 16 gigs of RAM, and it's $300. And I'm like, I thought these were expensive. And then I'm like, well, where are the 32 gig versions of this card? And wait a minute,
those are on Mars with Elon Musk.
I didn't know they had a version number of these things that high. How interesting! I think, like, what was it, the 5080 or something? I was like, there's a 5080, there's a 5090. Like, what's going on? So the most expensive card, and I think it still only has like 32 gigs of RAM, is $4,000. I'm like, wait, how do we get to $4,000 from $700 over there? Like right across the aisle. What is happening here?
Like, do you want to know about the chip architecture? I know just enough to be dangerous.
I probably know almost the same things, but yeah,
okay.
Well, it's interesting to me because now it's not like the real key for AI is memory, and actually nothing else matters. Like, everything else is irrelevant. Mm-hmm. AI just needs the memory, and the speed of the matrix multiplication makes no difference, right? All the difference is how much you can fit in the memory. That's it. And so, you're kind of stuck with what you're stuck with. But now they've got them so small, like this Gemma 4 thing, people are going nuts. This Gemma 4 runs on anything, and it does everything, and it does it really well. So you can run them locally now. So that's been a huge excitement.
So in theory, the RAM should start getting cheaper, right? Because they don't have quite as high memory needs, and they can scale down some of these data center, because we can all just run this new thing that works, right? Please.
Sure. You tell yourself that. I mean, when that doesn't work out, let me know. Well, the data centers. Yeah, we were talking about this the other day. The data centers aren't about AI. You'd have to really not understand anything to believe that's what was going on. First of all, they don't have the chip production to fill that many data centers. That should have been a hint right there. Mm-hmm. Wait a minute. What do you mean? No, NVIDIA is never going to be able to make that many chips that quickly. It's never going to happen. Yeah. They'll be lucky to make that many chips in 10 years. Like, this is not. Mm-hmm. You are not going to fill data centers with AI chips. That's not going to happen, because at the same time they're getting faster, they're getting smaller. That's how you make things faster in tech, is you get them smaller. So they're not understanding the math, and it's a double win, right? So the smaller you make it, it doesn't get linearly fast with the speed. It gets exponentially fast with the speed wise. So as the die shrinks, the exponential speed goes up to a point. We've been IO constrained for 25 years, so I don't know how much better that's getting. Some days I wish I worked at Cadence Design Systems again, because then I would know all this stuff.
Some days, though, apparently not that often.
Well, the problem with Cadence Design Systems was it was full of a bunch of lying snakes who were scumbags. So that was a real problem.
Well, that's a downer.
Yeah, it was not. I was not living my best life when they were lying to me about why I was there and what they wanted done. So it's not my preferred method of dealing with your employees, but it was theirs. So I guess if that's what you're doing, that's what you're doing. Also,
Cadence Supply is still around?
Cadence? Well, they still make. There's only two. I think that there might be three now. There's only two software companies that write software to design chips that do the Verilog tape out. It's Cadence and Synopsys. That's it. That's all you got. So if you want to design a chip, you're learning one of those two pieces of software.
Interesting.
They have junior level Verilog tape out software now, but that's brand new. It's interesting too, because all of those custom industries that were, how would you say, they were super, they were like super exclusive, high end, for customer per seat licensing, Fortune 500s that made all the money in the world. All of that stuff is, there's a web version of it now. So it's like, wow. So two companies that I worked for, web versions, right? I don't think Cadence has a web version of Cadence software, but PTC has Onshape, which is PTC software. It's probably better than the software they were building when I was there, in fact. Although I don't know, I was never a big CAD/CAM person, which is hysterical because my father was the head of documentation at Computer Vision, and then I worked for PTC, who was buying Computer Vision when I was there in what is probably the dumbest business decision ever in business. And I only say that because I know it's not true, because businesses make decisions that stupid all the time. And I do mean all the time. And it's just funny to me that people think these people are smart. I'm like, that's not really how that works. These people may think they're smart, but actually they make really dumb, really unbelievably stupid business decisions all the time. It was like Critical Drinker was talking about, I guess, Rings of Power Season 3 exists, and everyone's stunned because they're just losing so much money on it. And I know exactly why. And you
explain that to us, Mark, because, it's just Jeff Bezos wants it to happen, so it happens.
Yeah. I mean, that's how the world is, really, especially with people like that. When you have people with a lot of money, I mean, there's a couple stories. So one of them is, I'll just tell the PTC story. So I'm at PTC, right? And they print money. So while I'm there, I'm reporting to the director, who reports to the VP who runs engineering. Yeah, we all know each other, right? Like it's a big company, right? There's like 7,000 employees or something, but we're in the headquarters and we run everything. So I had a good job. Didn't get paid worth of garbage, but I didn't care. It was fine. I just come off some, high stroke consulting. I was making enough. It was fine. It was 60,000 or something pathetic. And all of a sudden they're gearing up to buy Computer Vision. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Computer Vision. I know all about Computer Vision. It's my uncle worked there. I had a bunch of people in the family that worked there. So I know a lot about Computer Vision. But spent many a weekend with my father playing with Computer Vision's Sun workstations, So they, we start to get some details, right? We're planning on building a skyscraper and moving our headquarters out of the leased building site that we have and into this new skyscraper that's going to be fully owned by PTC. And I'm like, well, that's kind of a questionable idea, because if you own real estate, you've got to manage it, which means you need an expert, and managing your own building is not always the best idea. And they were printing money. So what are you saving exactly, right? And maybe they were saving something, I don't know. And the new location looked pretty good. Well, within 3 months, I found out that they were buying computer vision 3 months before they went bankrupt. And I went, there's no way anyone's that stupid. No one would buy another company 3 months before their bankruptcy unless they had some like major IP that they wanted. But the thing was, PTC was founded from a former computer vision engineer who was using all patented brand new CAD CAM object technologies, right? It was parametric modeling instead of the standard CAD CAM modeling that computer vision is a different type of, it's a whole different thing. So there might be installed base, customer lists, things like that. So, but there's no patent, value or anything. I think it was too old anyway. I think all their stuff was out of patent. So that was a little weird. But the thing is, it turns out if you buy a company before it goes bankrupt, you buy all the debt, right? There's no way to discharge the debt. So the thing to do is to wait and then let them discharge.
Then to go bankrupt and then you buy them out. Yeah.
And then buy all the assets that you want and maybe, whatever. Well, they didn't do that. And apparently they didn't bother to do this little thing called due diligence in the accounting side, which was extra hysterical because unlike all the other tech companies I ever worked or consulted for, PTC was actually run from the CFO's office. And it was really bad there because at one point they were like, well, we're going to buy these big discs. And I'm like, I don't know why you need these big discs, but whatever. I was like, but we need backups for the software because the software is the thing we make. But because it's a maintenance contract company, they saw it as a financial engine and not a software company. And I'm like, you can do an awful lot with maintenance contracts, but if you don't have the core software, if anything happens to it, your company's done. Your stock tanks immediately, and it's all over. And the CFO's office had declined to buy the backup system to back up the software that the company was producing. And so it's a weird company. So even though we're run by the CFO's office, they never did their due diligence. So they buy computer vision. They get this garbage product called Windchill, which never worked. It was complete. They gave us a presentation of it. This is never going to work. I told my boss I never want anywhere near that project. The people who did this are stupid. It's just never going to, they're never going to get this to work. It's a nightmare. And they then found out two interesting facts. One was PTC had the second largest service contract for Sun microsystem workstations in the world. Okay. Guess what company had the number one largest maintenance contract with Sun Microsystems in the world? I'll give you two guesses, and the first two don't count. So we bought so much debt that they couldn't build the skyscraper. They had to scrap all the plans for the disks they were buying and the backup systems, and all that was now gone. That was gone. That was a $4 million deal or whatever. But fortunately, they were able to proceed with taking the middle level management of computer vision and inserting them into the successful company that wasn't bankrupt.
Perfect. You love to see people land on their feet.
My new director was from Italy. He was the least competent human being I could imagine. He immediately spent $7 million in 3 months. In 3 months, he spent $7 million.
Surely, Mark, this was just a capital outlay for a new important project.
We didn't have $7 million. It was worse than that. It's so funny. I'm always on both sides of this issue. So what happened was he hired this consulting firm to come in and give us what's called version control software, which, by the way, I was an expert at back then. Like, this thing I know the best, actually, is version control. And I was like, yeah, but we don't need version control software. Even though this is very large software companies, there's a lot of moving parts. They actually had a physical system that worked perfectly well, that was way better than software, because if you put version control software in place and you don't have a procedural management system behind it, you just get a bunch of dead software that you either ship or don't, and who knows. With this system, you couldn't get away with that because everybody was responsible for specific files, and those files got submitted. But what ended up happening was he hires this firm, and in comes this guy who's sitting in the waiting area for 2 hours at $300 an hour. This is in the 90s. This is a lot of money. So we're paying this guy $300 an hour. He's sitting there. No one told me he was coming. So I didn't know what was going on. And they contact me and they're like, "Your director." And I'm like, "Yeah, he ain't my director. Screw that guy. I hated him. I totally hated him. Isn't here to pick this guy up." And I said, "Well, give him to me. I'm the vendor manager. I'll deal with it." I dealt with Sun and IBM and HP and everybody in the building. I dealt with everybody in the building, all the big guys. They all had labs in our building. So I went and got him. This is my best friend. So he lived in Marlboro. We had a great talk how to get to and from work. And he had just come out of Raytheon and what he was working on at Raytheon at the plant in Marlboro, which is even funnier. And he was from Pennsylvania and all this. Yeah, it was great. So, like the number of stupid mistakes you have to make in order to have this. So now they've got no sky. I think they just built their skyscraper like a few years ago. So the recovery from the late 90s, 99, 2000 era, right? It was a complete disaster. It was so stupid. But because they had so much, CAD/CAM was big. BMW, I think, probably still uses some of their software. But yeah, they had military contracts. They had the whole. There may or may not have been a tank turret at one point they were trying to make work, and they needed my consulting on because it was a memory issue. But it was a wild. It was wild. The whole thing was wild. So these people really, they're not that bright. They don't often make, super brilliant decisions. And a lot of these companies, the difference is, like the people in Hollywood, their friends are other people in Hollywood. So the world they see, like they're never going to see Critical Drinkers reviews ever. This is never going to happen, right? And if they do, they're going to be like, "Well, what do these random internet normies know? We live this way." And for them, even though we wouldn't think of it this way, it's very modestly, right? Because all the people that employ them have an extra zero's worth of wealth, right? And so you need to think of it that way, like, wait a minute. For every person you see, just about, except like the Elon Musks and Jeff Bezos of the world, they have a boss, and the people, a big boss, we'll call it, right? The people that own the companies that they work for have an extra zero at least after them. And so for them, they think they're poor. Like everybody thinks they're poor because they look up and they see how not poor the people above them are. But that works all the way up the stack. So the person, and there is an income trap, right? If you only have $5 million of wealth, the odds that you can make that $10 million are actually very low, unless you have a certain skill set, which if you built the 5 million yourself, you almost certainly don't have. So that's a confusion that a lot of people get into. And the best thing to do is to look down and then just be grateful. Be grateful that zero is not missing. That's what. So when you start talking to these people about what they're doing and where they're going, I remember doing this to one of the news organizations called New England Cable News. I don't think it's still around, but they did some really bad reporting, and I was like, guys, like I wrote to the editor and I said, like, where are you getting this from? And the guy was like, "Listen, I go down to South America all the time. I'm telling you, this is the way it is." And I said, "But the story before the story that you posted said it's not a coup. It's a standard, thing that happens in South America every 10 years, which everybody should have known about by that point." He had no idea. He had no concept whatsoever, and I'm like, "But it's your own story from people from New England who live down in I think it was Argentina or something." And couldn't get through to him at all. He just couldn't hear the contradiction in his own reporting as the editor of the news. And that's the thing. We all have our blind spots, and you don't know what the blind spots are. The people in the we'll say the layer above you. You don't know what it is they see and how they live, and they might have gone to that. I forget the name of the lovely Italian place we went to in DC. They might have gone there and they might have gone there and said like, this is too lowbrow and they don't have expensive enough wine. And I know people like that. I know people. I've known people like that my whole life. So
that's a different world right there, and I don't need to live there because I thought that was fabulous enough. Although I had a homemade caprese salad tonight, which was better than the one we had at that place.
Really? Oh,
I mean, frankly, caprese salad's not that hard, right? Like, slice up a fresh tomato, slice up the ricotta cheese, put a slice of put a basil leaf on there, and some oil, and maybe some balsamic, and like, boom, you made a salad right there. So
it's mozzarella. Mozzarella.
Is it mozzarella? Okay, I don't actually make them, but like, if I looked up the instructions, I could nail it. Just 3 layers. Yeah.
Well, you'd be surprised how often that gets screwed up, especially at the cheaper place. There's a really nice Italian place down the street here, thankfully, because that's the one problem with down south, man. Don't try to get good Chinese food or good pizza here. It's like
not the specialities, huh?
Well, we've got a Marco's pizza. Marco's knows how to make pizza, so it's a chain, but it does a fine enough job. But you go to any of the local, like, regular pizza places, they don't know what they're doing. It's not good. It's not good. But yeah, people, there's a place down here called Big View Diner, and I don't live in South Carolina, but they're in North Carolina. And I went there once, and they're trying to be a knockoff Cheesecake Factory. So they've got like 24 items on the menu, and they got little sections, like a Greek section with 4 things, an Italian section with 4 things. So one day I'm like, oh, what the hell? I'll try their spaghetti and meatballs. And they serve this pasta, this slimy pasta, with, I don't know, I think maybe they cut up tomatoes and put them in water and dumped them on the pasta. And I was like, what the hell is this? This is not red sauce or any derivation of it. I mean, I think there's tomatoes, but well,
we've got a serious disagreement here going on in the comment section here.
You're not understanding what I'm trying to explain to you. Okay, what I'm telling you is that near my house, Marco's is by far the best pizza. Okay, there are at least 4 independent pizza shops and a Domino's, right? So this is what I'm saying. Like, I want to be clear. I'm not saying Marco's is the best pizza. I'm from freaking New England, all right? There ain't no good pizza down here at all, as far as I can tell. All I'm saying is, if you want good pizza, Marco's is the top. That's what I'm saying.
Or you're just going to have to make it at home.
Some of it's just you can't get the right ingredients. That's like the Chinese food down here sucks because they don't use the right rice. So you're kind of out of luck. The Mexicans always get perfectly fine Mexican rice, and like the Mexican food down here is amazing. You can't get Mexican food up north that's anywhere near this good. So it's like going to Taco Bell. The first time I went to Taco Bell in California, this is a billion years ago, 97 probably, something like that. First time I went to Taco Bell in California, I'm like, this isn't even the same chain as whatever it was in New England. I'm like, we're not even close. And they're like, no, it's the ingredients. And I was like, oh, that totally makes sense. So
yeah. Well, I don't know how to fix that. I'm not a supply chains expert. I don't know how to source tomatoes other than asking my parents for them.
We're limited. We can't grow most tomatoes down here because it's too hot, and they won't grow when it's 90 plus degrees. And guess when it's 90 plus degrees, Father?
All the time.
All summer long. Yeah. Sarah's up in the air about the second set of tomatoes. We've got the ones you got were called July 4ths because they usually ripe by July 4th, and you can squeak those in apparently, which we did. So that was nice. Yeah, I had a lot of tomatoes this year. We had cut up tomatoes with the nachos and everything too. So it's It's been real. It's been real. But
Yeah.
you would be surprised at how stupid businesses are. Like you'd just be utterly. It's a bit like
It's a bit like the church. I get it, Mark. I get it.
Yeah, I still
People
want to
make really horrible decisions all the time in the church, and the whole thing limps on.
I still want to snipe one more time. It's a bit like all the academics coming out of their shell and being on the internet and getting exposed to a bunch of things that have been there since the internet began and going, oh my goodness, it's the new threat on the horizon. Like, guys, no. It's just the internet and the way it is. Sorry. But yeah.
Good.
Cyber
Good.
Nemo has the correct take on knowledge and wisdom. I think that's
knowledge is knowing tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in fruit salads.
That is correct. That is important. That is absolutely important.
Yeah, I got to keep the flavors. Whatever it is. I'm sorry, Mark. I'm super tired. Like it's 3 nights in a row on bad sleep. So
really,
as soon as we're done here, I'm popping a melatonin, and we're gonna see if we can make some things happen. And by happen, I mean not happen anymore. So I'm weary of consciousness.
That I had noticed that. I was trying to hold you up as best as I could. So is this it, right? One class or something, or a week?
I finish up the class, yeah. So I've got my comps, passed my comps on Thursday.
Congrats.
So hour-long oral exam, 3 examiners. I don't know. I kind of had fun with it, but I wasn't worried about it, And then they only have 1 class this last month, and that'll be a pretty easy oral exam on Thursday. It was just this daggone thesis is just dragging out quite painfully. So last week, the reader read it and said that I need to engage more with secondary sources, especially articles, which was not what I wanted to hear. But what's really irritating about it is that nobody writes articles on my topic.
Right.
Like I can't so I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel trying to put more of this stuff in there. So anyway, the thesis will get done, but probably not before I leave. So
bummer. That sucks.
So yeah, you all could pray for me that eventually I will be able to wear the hat. I do not yet have the right to wear the hat, and I don't know how to wear the hat and my Sony studio monitors at the same time. So you'll have to, I might have to stay bald, but maybe I'll put the hat somewhere where you can see it consistently, and maybe that'll be good enough.
You'll have to resort to these and then wear the hat for it.
But I have the Sony studio monitors. Extremely high quality, very comfortable to wear, not that expensive. It's a great thing. I could replace the earmuffs, when they get wore out.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that's what wore out on my Sennheisers. So,
yeah.
Of course,
I think Cyber Nemo is correct about this. When I get my Beretta with green piping, it's because I earned it. And that's Beretta with an I, not an E. Very important to keep those two distinct.
I don't know.
Beretta with the E goes on your head. The Beretta with the I goes on your head. The Beretta with the E is supposed to go through somebody else's head.
Exactly. Well, the church needs more of that. But we've got all these cannons and missiles. We're not firing anybody.
And now we have the Berettas, and we're still not shooting anybody.
Exactly. I'm very upset. We got to get this. We got to get this nailed down here.
Well, England is the one with James Bond and his Walter PVK. So if you want people being shot, you need a James Bond.
What we need to do is we need to bring back the Church of England. That would fix these problems and end the 500-year disaster of having the sovereign of England as the sovereign of the Church of England.
Yeah, that. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess people.
I think that ship already sailed when Lord Cromwell, decapitated King Charles II. So
yeah, that was.
Oops.
That's a disaster. There's a 3-part BBC thing that they did back in, I don't know, 2014, or maybe it's even older than that. But I saw it on Amazon Prime, and I mean, talk about not able to make a case for any. It's a complete, like, all the problems we have in our legal system because of that. All the problems we have with authority because of that. It's a complete, the law, the whole like bounding of the law, because the law is unbound from virtue now, because they murdered the virtuous one. And the whole time I'm just sitting there like, because I did a video on this, I don't know, it's probably about a year ago now, or maybe a little less, where the Brits just have no idea what's right and wrong at all. Like, even a little, like, and I can't work it out in their heads, even a little bit. This woman is sitting there talking about how Cromwell's a Puritan. And I was like, wait, I didn't know that. The Puritans were in control, huh? And they got rid of Christmas, and they shut down all the theaters, and they're burning a bunch of books. And I'm like, and you guys can't figure out who the bad guys are in this equation. You're still kind of insistent that Parliament's okay, huh? And then they're doing obnoxious stuff like they grab the king, they bring him into London for the trial, right? Which they have no basis for, and they can't ever, it never gets justified, ever, because there is no justification. It's hysterical. And they bring him in, they put him in a, at one point, they move him to a private residence, and the two guards are in the room with him while he's trying to sleep, smoking and drinking. And I'm just like, no, these are obviously the bad guys. It still hasn't, like, that's just obnoxious. Like, why would you should do that to anybody? Like, we don't do that to prisoners now. Like, what? You can't figure out who the bad guys are, really. And, Parliament's doing other things, like in the beginning, Parliament's just in charge, and the House of Lords gets nothing to say about anything.
The British Isles have been ungovernable since the Romans tried it, Mark. What makes
no, they were governed just fine until Henry VIII. I mean, Henry VIII ruined everything.
Like, weren't the Roman legionnaires writing back about the stupid blue-faced people living in the swamp that didn't speak Latin and like made weird mouth noises? And
right, and then the Romans settled it in, and they built a nice civilization and ran that for a while. And there were some invasions. There's always invasions. You got your Anglo-Saxons, you got your Normans coming in. Okay, all right, there were some invasions, but it was a jolly old, like, England was like the model Catholic state. Like, it worked. I'm not going to sit here and say it was perfect, but it worked really well.
If only
Henry VIII blew it all up. So
yeah.
If only Rome helped out during the War of the Roses in some way that Henry VIII could have appreciated.
Henry VIII was a big fan of the church until he couldn't get a divorce.
Because he couldn't have any heirs. He was very, very anxious about another succession crisis.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, but then it wasn't the War of the Roses and the helping out. Then was it? It was just his own.
It was
personal,
both. But like
private
the reason why he revolted against Rome was he felt like Rome didn't have any business telling him that he couldn't divorce his wife when Rome sat on, as far as he knew, Rome sat on her hands and didn't help England in her dire need. Right?
No, that's not why. No, that's not why at all.
He's just a pervert that hates women. Is that your position, Mark?
My position is rather explicitly, and from the historical record, which if you bothered to research, you would know, is just that it was really only just the divorce.
It was really only just the divorce, and the church wouldn't let him divorce his wife, and so he decided. Well, I mean, on the other hand, the good, like the one bright spot of him having done that is he proved how utterly incompetent the state is at playing God. Yeah. Like, by taking
did we need further proof of that? But
apparently we do. Like, since the first time we made a government apart from God, we've been doing that to ourselves, right? I would say, I don't know, Tower of Babel was probably the first time we tried to make a government without.
No, it's really just the Reformation, actually. If you look historically,
you're still blaming the Reformation.
Horribly wrong, right?
So you're not blaming the Philo leak this time. We're not going to blame the Philo leak. We're not going to blame, we're not going to blame the Black Death. We're not going to blame
for what? The Black Death. The Black Death is just a disease that spreads across
and
Europe.
people lost tremendous faith in the institutions of everything, including the church, during the Black Death, didn't they?
No, I mean they were all intact. Like long after the Black Death, they were all still perfectly intact.
That's interesting, because that's the theory that comes out of China, is that the prerequisite for the Reformation is the Black Death, and like they see all of these very lovely church people not do a goddamn thing about the Black Death.
They should learn how time works. There's way too much time between the instability and the Black Death, like way too much.
Okay, so
several generations.
Several generations, and people don't remember things that long, huh? People never forget that long.
Well, you don't remember things you don't experience, because you don't. But like again, the stability was perfectly intact.
The surviving people who survived the Black Death didn't tell the story to their children. Right, and they told their children never forgot, and their children's children never forgot, and their children's children never forgot.
But it's still not about the stories. I mean, obviously, because there's a bunch of stories now, and no one's paying attention to them. So that can't be it, right? That's pretty easy.
Okay, I mean, fine. You can blame the Reformation all you want, but see, the more you blame the Reformation, the more you convince me that Martin Luther and John Calvin, all of those people, terrible people, still live rent free in your head so much that you have to express how much you hate them every time, right? Like
you can use whatever copium you want for whatever.
And then you don't notice that you've also got a big tank of copium and you huff it every time you go, oh, it was all
right. No. Both of you got. Let me tell you, my grand theory on the Protestant Reformation is that it was not an innovation of anything, that whatever spirit led to the Protestant Reformation, that was already present in Europe before it actually happened. However, the Protestant Reformation, or revolt, as we could say, was a codification of whatever evil spirit what had been stalking Europe probably for centuries at that point. And I think you can actually begin to see the cracks in Christendom astonishingly early in some of like the 10th and 11th century disputes over the Blessed Sacrament. There was something where people could not deal with the Blessed Sacrament, the doctrine of the Blessed Sacrament, in the intuitive way that the fathers of the church had. They were either, like saying it's not a real presence, or it's so real that it's just physical, right? They couldn't hold the sacramental doctrine in there. And I think the second that you start asking that question, something's kind of gone wrong in your understanding there. And these things, they don't happen instantly, but you can look through. And Thomas Aquinas fixed it, by the way. You got all the theory you need in order to understand transubstantiation there. But you can see kind of the after Thomas Aquinas, the over-reliance on logic, things becoming much wordier and kind of less elegant almost. You can see some of the materialism creeping into biblical scholarship, and the first stirrings of physicalism and popular democracy and certain flawed doctrines of equality, with Protestant Reformation being kind of a bigger manifestation of these things. So that's just what I think. And because it's my stream, I get to kick you guys off and give you my big theory on the Protestant Reformation when you irritate me.
No problem, Father. You have. I do not take it personally when you dug me into the void.
So yeah, and the book that opened my eyes to this was by Scott Hahn, and it was called The Secularization of Scripture. and it happens way earlier than you think it is.
Yeah, so it's. I mean, I don't really. I mean, I don't. Well, my only skin in this debate is that I'm a Presbyterian, so I would very much appreciate it if you guys stop trying to deconstruct my tradition. That's all, right? And then, I mean, you guys are free to do it, right? But every time you
Yeah,
try
if
to
you
do it,
can't take the
I'm going
heat,
to
don't come
cheat.
into the kitchen.
Yeah, I think you're in the wrong
I'm going to.
place. I just think
I'm
you're in the
going
wrong
to.
place.
Huh?
Like, flat out.
What?
You're in the
If
wrong
you can't
place.
take the heat, don't come to the kitchen.
No, but I can take the heat, but I'm going to cheek about you guys trying to deconstruct
apparently
my
you can't.
tradition. Huh?
Apparently you can't.
What? I can't what?
Take the heat.
Take the heat.
Anyway,
What? Oh, I'm supposed
if you're
I'm
into
supposed to sit here and let you guys attack my position on
He's a Catholic
on
priest.
grounds
You
I
know
don't
that,
agree
right?
with you. Yes, but I'm not arguing
okay.
I'm not arguing with Father Eric. I'm arguing with you right now, Mark. Every time you
I don't know
cheek
why.
and blame the Protestant Revolution, I go, try looking in the mirror, Mark.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm looking at myself right now. What am I supposed to see other than the fact that you're crazy?
Well, see, you said the magic
both
word.
of you are using ad hominem attacks right now.
Yes, because
both of you.
I'm okay with that.
I mean,
I don't have any problem pointing at the truth, Father. It's not.
What he's not even a psychiatrist, and he's falsely diagnosed me of something.
I'm happy to go wherever people want to go. They're always going to lose because I can play in all the fields, but that's not.
No. You got irritated and told me to shut up in your server, Mark. So I know you are not nearly as chill
on my server. Really, on my server, I set the rules and I do what I want. That's shocking.
Yeah, and then you told me, and then you yelled at me to shut up. So you're not exactly the more mature person.
That's not about maturity. I'm in charge on my server. Do you just not understand how anything works ever? Is that well, in different spaces, different people are in charge, right? Like that's pretty easy, right?
I mean, if you want to act like a tyrant in your own space, that's your freedom. That's your prerogative.
This is, and it's so hard for people to figure this out. Huh, I don't know.
I totally don't understand how much more morally superior Mark is from me. I just have to sit here and take it while he insults my tradition.
Why would you assume that I was morally superior to you or really anyone else? I've never.
Because you talk to me in that very patronizing voice, where you're putting
no. He talks to everybody like that.
Yeah, I talk to everybody like that.
Yeah,
it's the same voice for everyone.
When you tell me to shut up, it's not the patronizing dad voice. It's the pissed dad voice.
But that's not.
So that's a different. That's at least a different
patronizing mode. Anything. If I tell you that on my server, it's because I'm in charge. It's nothing to do with anything else. You just can't disambiguate any conditions, can you?
All right. So let's talk about why this book is so good here. Politicizing the Bible, the roots of historical Christian criticism and the secularization of Scripture. There is a fascinating thing that happens in the Middle Ages is that everybody believes in God, and everybody has God, in the forefront of their public speech and their public action. You might say that's great, but just remember that there's nothing so great in the world, in creation, that it cannot be corrupted and ruined by human beings. And so, you've got the King of France going around telling his armies that God is on our side in this war. Then you've got the King of Tuscany telling his armies that God is on our side in this war. And then it just gets into this. And everybody was doing this, right? I'm not calling out France or Tuscany. It's just this is the way that people happens, the way that people work, And so at that point, there's this move to try and make the Bible less decisive for people, because everybody's claiming the mantle of Scripture. They're claiming the mantle of God. They're claiming the mantle of the church. to justify, not just the existence of their state and their regime, which, okay, yeah, the Caesar does not wield the sword in vain, but like, their particular political programs and that sort of thing. So there was an increasing desire, beginning with, I think it was Marsilius of Padua, to to address this by changing the dynamics around the way that people read the Bible there. And so this is a long slog of a read, right? It's got a very a thorough scholarly manner of writing that can be a little bit repetitive, but such is the style of the Academy. So anyway, he starts off with Marsilius of Padua. You end up with Machiavelli, and Machiavelli is an interesting figure because he treats Moses amongst all the other lawgivers. Right? Doesn't treat him as a bearer of revelation. He treats him as one among many of the lawgivers there, and so that kind of at the end of the writing there. But The Prince was a very influential book. We're still talking about it to this day. So I think you can start to see some of the roots of the Protestant revolt coming in the Catholic world and from Catholic authors. So that's what I think. The book does not talk about Maimonides and Aquinas at all, because it starts after them, right? You could look at Aquinas as like the peak Middle Age theologian, and like once you hit the peak, guess where you can go? It's only down. So that's why we're still talking about him, because we haven't gotten any better there. On a scale of 1 to 100%, how much can we blame the perennial Gnosticism, in your opinion? Well, you got to be real careful with the term Gnosticism. So I will answer your question. Would you specify which Gnosticism it is and what part of it that you're upset about? Because like, what do we mean? Like, perfect dualism between good and evil? Is it that kind of Gnosticism? Or material creation is bad, spiritual creation is good, or the deliverance from this world comes from secret knowledge or some kind of secret practice? All of those things are what people say when they're pointing at something and calling it Gnostic. So I just need a little more specificity before I can start blaming things. But I don't blame Christopher for anything. How are you doing?
I am doing well. Yes, I noticed that the book there started at, based on that book you had up on there, started at 1300.
Mm-hmm.
But before that was interesting to me. I looked this up a little bit ago, but before that you have the Magna Carta in England in 12 something,
Mm-hmm.
which was basically like this compromise between the king and Parliament that would come up with by the Bishop of Canterbury at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that was come up with there, but then the Pope overruled it and said it wasn't valid. So that was interesting to me that happened before all the Church of England stuff.
Yes, well before all the Church of England stuff there. Do you happen to know on what grounds the Pope was invalidating it?
I do not remember. I'd have to look it up again.
Yeah, medieval canon law is like a whole different world.
Yeah.
I could see some of it's pretty stable and hasn't changed that much, but other things are just like, man, transformations, big transformations. Yeah,
But that was interesting to me because the Magna Carta is a big deal for the Americas here, with limiting the king's power and all that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like anybody particularly cared about the Pope's condemnation. like because everybody still talks about it. I always thought that it was a resounding success, and everybody was just happy about it. So
Yeah.
The Magna Carta? I mean, they didn't
Yeah.
follow it. No, they
Well, they
ditched
did-
it immediately. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, then why were they talking about it if it didn't work?
Well, they appeal to it all the time. Look, I mean, like I said earlier, the Brits are not. Actually like. I have it in my video. This guy freaking makes an argument that if you forge a $10 note for somebody, that it's not a forgery unless he actually uses it. And I mean, it's like, it's like it's not illegal. Well, actually, it is legally a no, whether you use it or not. Just as a point of law, even in England today, right? I'm just gonna tell you that's actually how the law works, dude. But also, like, it's still an ethical violation. Like, I don't know what else to tell him. But they had this 20-minute conversation about it, and I'm like,
well, yeah, I think it's not illegal to make like fake collectible money that you never sell, but I definitely would not be able to argue the ethics or the morality of doing that.
yeah, forgery is illegal in
Yeah,
everywhere.
forgery is definitely illegal, but
Just not
drawing obviously monopoly money for somebody
Sure.
that they put on their
Well,
wall is
obviously
we're not
not
talking-
forgery is not illegal, right?
Yeah, when you get a $1 quadrillion bill that talks about how great it is to be a Christian and go to heaven, like, well, that's not the.
Or you
That's
can
not
you
the-
can you can make Wazbucks, right? So Steve Wozniak has $3 Wazbucks bills that are legal U.S. tender. You can make those. Actually, that's not a problem. You get them printed up, and they'll do that for you, and that's not a problem, right? But that's also not a forgery because forgery is still actually illegal. So the problem is that even when you look at the Brits, to this day they'll say we have free speech. It's like, you have never ever had free speech anywhere in the UK ever. I don't even know what you're like. The topic of ever even having anything remotely resembling free speech has never even been broached anywhere on those set of islands. I don't know what to tell you. Just as a historical verifiable fact, that was
G.K.
never
Chesterton
on the table.
makes fun of his own countrymen, right, by saying that the average Britishman, values themselves as a logical, practical, and realistic people.
Right.
And he's like, no, Englishmen are not like that at all. They're the most dreamy and idealistic of all the men on the earth. They're like the French and the Germans are more rational than you guys are.
Yeah.
And he puts it very well.
So something like that. An Englishman is never more English than when the other Englishmen think he's too eccentric or something.
Yes. Yeah. But it's funny because to this day they think they have free speech. And it's just like, where
Boy, you got a license for that opinion?
You would need one in the UK. Yeah, you should hear Ginger Bill talk about the license just to do things. And I'm like, you need a license for what? And a license for what? And a license just to brew beer? That's pretty bad, dude. And yeah,
to be fair, there was some leftover prohibition legislation that didn't get repealed until the 1970s in the United States.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of stuff like that, but it's one thing, for Americans not to understand what our freedom of speech is and where it comes from and what it's limited by, because we were run by the Puritans too for a while. And it's another thing to be in a country and think that you have free speech when you never ever wasn't even on the table for discussion ever in your history, to be fair, extremely well documented history. You could look it up if you cared. Not on the table. No one was giving, and they act too like the Magna Carta applied to all people, and it surely did not. That's not what that document says. I don't know what version they read, but it's not in the document, buddy. It ain't got nothing to do with you unless you own land. You don't own any land. You ain't got any stake in that document whatsoever. Yeah, you basically had to own a manor. And if you didn't know in a manner that you weren't mentioned in the document, you were just whatever, just fodder for the upper class. Sorry. I just, it's hysterical to me because we're seeing everything through the lens of, our equality, our idea of equality now. And it's just like that we don't even have that. And even if we did, it's brand new, right? To the extent that we do, it's brand new. It just happened. And most of the things we complain about, like our education system and corporations, and now you have to work for a living, that's all post-Reformation stuff, like all of it. None of that was in the world before the Reformation. So I think there was one quote corporation of any comport before the East India Company or something, which shocked me. I just found this out. I was like, wait, what? That's an interesting I'm not surprised when I think about it, but I'm like, wow, that's really interesting that sort of the world opened up that much, and breaking open Christendom basically, because it's not a Reformation because they all left the church. You can't reform things from outside. That's a rebellion, right? But breaking open Christendom, really, now you gotta come up with new things like ridiculous
So
crushing
the Protestants invented capitalism.
Actually, the Jews did, but don't worry about that.
Pretty clearly, yeah.
They were the bankers. You need capital.
Oh, okay.
And lending
so one thing we don't have to blame on the Reformation. Yay!
And to be fair, they were doing this with cooperation of the Medicis in Florence, right? And the Medicis were also, into the whole banking thing, and that's how you finance the capital. Or at least that's how it developed. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know if that's what people mean by capitalism, but maybe. But that goes way back. Yeah, capitalism is pre. But not everybody had access to it. Not everybody needed access to it. And then post-Reformation, they do.
And frankly, we shouldn't give everybody access to credit.
Well,
there are plenty of people in the world who would be much better off if they got paid in cash and in cash only.
Or didn't need to get paid at all. Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Sure.
I will point to the fact that if you just, from a descriptive viewpoint, if you just take the description of something like socialism and the description of something like slavery, you cannot tell them apart, because if you're a slave, you get free lodging and free food and guaranteed work, basically, which is. That's part of Karl Marx's stuff, guys. It's not no work; it's guaranteed work, which means enforced, by the way. But he doesn't phrase it that way. But it's pretty clear from what he wrote that's what's going on. And so, yeah, I mean, it slips past a lot of people. I'm like, you're all anti-slavery and pro-socialism, huh? Well, I don't think you can be. Good luck with that one.
It's okay, Mark. Real capitalism has never been tried. So every time not real capitalism failed, that was totally not real capitalism.
Well, that was always my argument, but they never had a counter, oddly enough. So a little weird.
Well, I'm not a capitalist, but I do believe in free markets. So, maybe that would actually be a better way of framing these things, is not giving it a spooky, vague name like capitalism, but saying, oh, yeah, free markets, that's an efficient way to organize things.
Yeah.
But, not free for the sake of being free for the sake of serving the human person. And so there could be sensible restrictions on the activities to keep things within a certain boundary of morality, but
that's the whole problem, though, Father, is almost nobody has a decent definition of capitalism. I prefer mine, oddly, but like when I ask people, they don't come up with anything in particular. I'm like, well,
sure, and I'll just switch over to like free markets or something like that, and and it's like, well, okay, that's a pretty little, they just don't talk about capitalism, and then you don't get enchanted by big spooky words. Yeah. And so, if you want to know about the Catholic position on capitalism, it doesn't talk about capitalism as such a lot, right? In like the Catholic social doctrine. I will say that, like, yeah, we can have free markets, but these markets are not supposed to be free of morality, right? And
Exactly.
there are a real, like, you can go ahead and say no. You can't sell nuclear weapons to people. You can regulate that sort of thing, and like enforcing certain rules of fairness, regulating industries that are prone to abuse. All of those are on the table. It's not supposed to be unfettered markets. But yeah, you'll hear more about like free markets, the common good, um, those sorts of things. You won't hear much about capitalism because
Right.
it's a big spooky word that nobody can agree on what it means. So just watch out for those big spooky words. Otherwise, you'll turn into Chesterton's Englishman, who thinks he's being very rational when really he's living in a dreamy, idealist kind of state. So,
The other interesting thing about people talking about freedom is that freedom was the value of Plato's democracy in the descent into tyranny. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, what does
You wouldn't
Plato
happen to
know?
know. You wouldn't happen to know what Greek term he was using when he was writing about that, would you?
I would not know that
Give
off the
me a
top of my head.
moment. I'll look it up.
Yeah, that's because if you hang out in 21st century American Catholic circles long enough, you're going to hear somebody talk about like freedom versus license, and this is the way that
Right.
we got this
Mm.
doctrine into English now, is that if
Mhm.
you've got license, there are just no external constraints on your behavior, and like there's a certain value for that. An adult, we're not going to tell them how exactly to spend their day. We don't need to nanny people quite that much. So that's useful. But they would say that freedom always comes from a place of virtue, and it enables you to do the good well and consistently there. So always having a connection, and like, yeah, you're only free if you're using your agency to pursue the good, because being is good, and the world and creation is good, and you should want to build that up. And so if you're
Mhm.
doing evil, there's some kind of constraint on you that you're at least submitting to. Um, and sometimes with varying degrees of cognizance and responsibility there. But it is a place of constraint there. So anyway, it was just interesting to hear that. And it was the Greek term that Plato's using might shed a little bit of light on what
Mhm.
it means.
Cannot read any of this Greek. It is this particular chapter, unlike book 6. This particular chapter is full of very long, almost exclusively oblique Greek characters. So I can't even find the word in the lobe here. Although I'm not particularly lobe experienced.
Well, hopefully we'll get to the bottom of this beforehand. Does the church have some sort of fiscal monetary magisterium, for lack of a better term? A lot of times the church doesn't want to get into that level of detail of like having a specific program for these things, because something that would work really well, let's say in Bavaria, might not work very well in Saxony. You know, uh, it's like, well, those places are right next to each other. They share the same language. Yeah. One of the priests living at the house here, he's from Texas. He's very proud of being from Texas, which I'm sure is surprising to anybody who's ever met anybody from Texas. But he was just sharing some Texas lore with us over supper. It's like fascinating stuff, right? Well, aren't you guys all Americans? Oh yeah, but like, the lore in Texas is different. Yeah, the church isn't going to specifically put it into her social doctrines about how a government should manage their finances, but they will give you some guidance on good housekeeping, right? and like living within your means, taming your passions, considering things. There's a lot like in the moral tradition, for a householder, maybe for like an abbot and for a bishop about
Yeah,
the
not
sorts.
oppressing the poor, not neglecting the widow or the orphan, that
Do
kind of stuff.
not withhold the laborer's wages. Like
Yes.
that's a sin that cries out to heaven for judgment.
Yes,
Um,
I am crying out for judgment right now because of that. Pay me, you
yeah,
bastards. Sorry.
yeah. If I knew any lawyers in Florida, I'd hook you up. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Alas. You can't send the church militant after these people, alas.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
Christendom,
churchmilitant.tv folded. So
no church militant. Yeah, it's a bummer.
Bummer. I could use some church militants right now.
yeah, well, members only.
Darn.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Predatory interest rates and predatory contracts, definitely evil. It's really funny though, like the church stopped calling out usury sometime in the 18th century.
For some reason.
And it's like
Interesting.
I don't know, I don't even know if I want to look at that, right? Because we're kind of drowning in usury. Usury is the way that the world works now. So
Well,
it's sort of like you
certain
pull on
things
that.
rely on that. That's the problem.
You pull on that, like what's it connected to?
Uh-oh.
You know?
That's illegal to notice.
It's a scale issue, and that's really where the problem is. There's a scaling problem. If you want to do long-term things, then you have to have capital that sort of grows in and of itself, or you can't. Long-term commercial projects can't exist. So, I mean, I would argue that's a good
And
thing.
yet, Notre Dame was built, was it not?
Well, Notre Dame was built by selling things that maybe the church should have sold.
No,
Yeah,
that's St. Peter's Basilica. You keep these things straight, woman.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
That's the question. Is where did they do that in an attempt to make sure they didn't have to sell any more land, or yeah, you're right. It's a thread you don't want to pull on because you don't actually know what the motivations are and whether or not they're correct. Because one of the problems is things change over time, and so if you don't account for that, then whatever system you have is going to break pretty badly. And that's why I don't support the Orthodox quite so much. I'm like, yeah, you guys are not understanding the world. The world changes, and if you're not able to change quickly enough with it, then you're just gonna not be able to adjust. And because the world is huge, there's a place for that margin, right? It just turns out to end up being a margin, and that we need margins, so that's fine. But they didn't need to split with Rome to do that because there's Eastern Orthodox in the church, in the Catholic Church. So
Eastern Catholics. Eastern Catholics. And actually the law I'm taking right now is Survey on Eastern Law, and it's a bit of it gets complicated. It gets complicated for a variety of reasons we don't necessarily need to rehearse here, unless you want me to regurgitate some of the lectures I've been attending.
No, that's okay, Father. Appreciate it. Great offer, but I'll pass. Are you driving back on Friday? Is that your plan?
Well, I'm going up to Boston on Thursday.
Oh, you're going to Boston.
To see Boston with my parents.
Awesome.
So that should be fun, and then I'll get back Sunday afternoon, finish up packing, take off Monday morning. So, and Monday will be my long day, Washington D.C. to Hammond, Indiana.
Oof. How many hours?
It's a long. It's about 10 and a half, 11 in the car. But that'll be my longest day. I think I'll break it up into 2 days after that. Like I can do it in 2 days total for the trip, but by the end of day 2, I'm getting a little irrational. Reflex reaction times are down. It's
I did Southwest South Dakota in 2 days, 2 12-hour days.
you drive faster than I do.
Oh, I was freaking bombing. Are you kidding? That was the best day of my life. I had the car at about $120. I had the cruise control on for about 20 minutes with the top down. It was awesome. I was like, I should just off myself now. Life's not going to improve. I was right, by the way. Hasn't gotten any better since that day. That's for sure.
You were right about that, but self-murder is still murder. So
I don't know, Father. We have to chat about that one. We have to work it all out.
Well, Mark, we need you to finish your other books and the board game. So
thanks for reminding me. I haven't worked on the manners book lately. But to be fair, there's a lot more work now that other people are not doing what I thought they were going to do. So I've been dreading all the silly work that I now have to do by myself. But it's fine. It's fine. I'll get around to it at some point.
No, Mark, the AI will do all that work for you. We're going to be in a post-work utopia in 3 or 4 years.
Wait. Does Mark actually need help on something? I might be able to find some help.
No, we had people who promised to do certain things who didn't do them. But
okay. So you are waiting for them to live up to their promise?
No, I'm not anymore. That means that the project that I have to go look at and do is much bigger now, and so.
So would you like me to help you?
Yeah,
right?
No.
Darn.
That's fine.
Okay.
It's way too late to help on that particular project. A lot of these projects are in flight, so we can't just add people to them. That doesn't.
That's fine.
That doesn't work.
But don't worry, there's always another project coming around the bend.
There's plenty of projects to go for sure. Definitely. So we can include you on those new projects if you wish. That is for certain. So yeah, we still got to finish the board. The board game I think is like I don't have to do anything on the board game, right, Christopher? You got that.
I'm pretty sure you don't have to do anything on the board game now. We just have.
Not until we need another set of cards, in which case I'm probably going to vanish and you'll never find me again. That was a lot of work coming up with those cards, man. That was a lot of work, man. Oh, what a bear! It was fun, but wow, it was tight. Is that Ted calls it type 2 fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a type 2 fun.
That was Dr. Jim. That was Dr. Jim who came up
was
with
it?
That. Yeah.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I remember Ted talking about it with him and Corey, and I was like, type 2 fun. Fair enough.
I've preached on type 2 fun before.
Excellent.
Maybe someday I'll write an encyclical on type 2 fun. Like we're gonna get this embedded, Well,
that was the highest praise moment in the whole project, Father, was when we asked you to look at the questions and answers, and you actually didn't have any feedback whatsoever, other than some of these questions are really, really good, or some of these answers rather are really, really good. Okay.
It's tricky. It's tricky, man. I think if you want some play testers, I've got some buddies in Sioux Falls who'd probably eat this up. So
that's
Dr.
coming.
Christopher, our project manager, he will get you hooked up with play testing equipment. No problem. Done. Yeah, I want to. We're going to do an online one too. I mean, we want to do a person one too. We're going to do one online.
We would have the opportunity to give this to people who know nothing about it. And
I know.
would just observe and take both notes.
Christopher's done that once already, but not with the finalized set.
Yeah.
That's what he's working on. But we're going to do that on the server too, because the plan is to have all of us there, but none of us playing, because then we can watch. It wouldn't be fair for any of us to play because we sat and worked for hours over the answers. So like hours, and then Castle decided he wanted to throw a wrench and everything at the last minute. I was like, oh no, but we resolved it. It was all.
I mean, I would love to play test this and try to break the game, because that's exactly the kind of thing I would like to do.
We can arrange that in maybe a week or so.
Ooh.
At the earliest, yeah.
Okay, well, poke me. I should have some time to break the game. Move fast and
that is coming as soon as I can make it happen. So,
Mark, you're muted. Are you aware?
Oh, I don't know how that happened. Christopher's on it. He's got it all under control. Well, we'll do the big announcement on the server at some point, and people who want to play can come and play. It'll be fun.
Warriors, come out and play.
I don't know if that'll be it. And we got to do another movie club. So we're doing Seven Samurai. I think that'll be fun.
Mhm.
That'll be fun. I assume we're never going to get another Flannery O'Connor, Father. I know you've been super busy, but yeah. And then you're going to need a week of recovery, and we're
Never.
we're at the end of next month for that too.
Yeah. You know, it's a lot less work than the Moby Dick book club was, wasn't it?
Yeah, you know, I got to talk to you about Moby Dick one of these days, but we'll do it in August here.
Okay, like, because we could talk now. It's the open mic. Things are open.
All right. I'll float it. We'll see if we can get there. So, the new practice that okay. Well, let me tell you the backstory. So, I went to DC, and we went on this church. Oh wait, that was you. Never mind. So when you were given the tour, and we're doing the murals and the top and the bottom and the words in the middle, and I suddenly realized that I am in fact stupid, and we should do that as a practice, because that's a middle gate practice for our project.
And do you want to do it with the Mysteries of the Rosary, or?
And I was wondering, no, of course not. We can't use that. What is wrong with you, Christian people?
I was just surprised that I thought you were becoming Catholic. You know,
we have to go pure secular. So the first pure secular thing that I could think of, which I'm almost done with, I think, is Plato's Republic, because Plato's Republic's explicitly set up pretty much with 2 allegories per book, right? So you've got 2 images for every chapter, so you get 10 images right there. And so that's one standalone linking practice, I'm going to call it. But I was thinking maybe Moby Dick has enough allegorical pairs in it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that'd be such a bear cat to take on.
It would. I agree.
It's just reading that book takes long enough.
Well, the nice thing about Plato's Republic was I was able to get the AI to distill most of it and actually do most of the drawings, because I have a style and everything. So that worked. That's actually worked pretty well. So it's like I'm more than done with that already. Yeah. So there's some tweaks and stuff, but we passed the hump on the majority of the work. But if I could do that too with Moby Dick, that would be cool. Like, that would just be fun to be able to do it with Moby Dick. I couldn't really tell, because I've only read it the once, if we had enough material in it in terms of pairs that can be linked in that same way. I mean, like I said, the Republic's set up that way. Like Plato designed that in.
Well, you've got the story of the town ho, right? You remember that. Please, Mr. Ishmael, tell me more about your adventures.
Yeah.
Like, you could use that as like a microcosm. Like you could take the different characters and like the way they react in different situations, right? So there was the chapter about the doubloon nailed to the masthead, and Ahab looks at it and says, 3 sons, or the sun, that is Ahab, and the 3 mountain peaks, that is Ahab. And it's like, oh boy, what's going on here? Like you could do showing characters all looking at the same thing and doing the same thing and being completely different about it. It just wouldn't be symmetrical, because not everything's symmetrical in that book.
Yeah, you will have the chapter that's a play about all their revelry on the ship there, and then there's the chapter that's about the interior of the inn at the very beginning. And so
Yep. Yeah, there's a few things where he talks about like home and land and contrasts it with being out in the ocean. Yeah, it might be doable. We Christopher and I sort of batted around and decided neither of us was quite familiar enough to pull it off.
The thing is that, like, who would we be able to do this with? Like,
Well,
do people already need to have read the book, or
No,
we
I
just
don't.
give them excerpts?
No. I want to make it just like, well, I mean, like my church experience, right? Like the Silica experience, I guess. Never read the book, not too familiar. And some of them I knew.
But
Right?
the pictures, there's pictures right there, and I could just point at you. That's them bringing the ark into
That's the
Jerusalem.
whole. But that's the
I
whole
don't know
point.
who the guy getting whipped is.
Yeah. But that's the whole point. Is that you can do that without words, and that is the skill we've lost. Right? No one can do anything without words anymore. I think to the earlier point that Young God made, I think that the reason why the retard scientists think people don't have inner monologues is because those people don't know what inner monologues are, not because they don't have them, right? And their inner monologue is too visual, so they don't consider it a monologue. But the feature is still there. It's just manifested differently. And if you take McGilchrist seriously, you could see why that would be the case and how that would work.
And how it might actually make their lives better to be like that.
What undoubtedly will improve them by 10 billion% not to use. Yeah. Not to, because, I guess it's probably hard for people to tell. I mean, I can and I do as a practice, but I don't normally think in my head and monologue. That would be really weird, because it just slows me down, and I got things to do. So non-monologue just conveys more data in less space using over smaller time periods. So there's no, I don't know why you translate things into words. It's a total waste of time. It's completely ridiculous.
This is why you learn Chinese, because Chinese is still mostly ideograms.
Yeah, it's too hard to learn Chinese.
Honestly, like the fact that
or you learn to draw.
Learning to draw is much more approachable than Chinese. Although, frankly, writing Chinese is kind of just like drawing. So
yeah, it's very beautiful. Or you learn music, right? Like the way you restoke your imagination is you actually like learn how people make art, however you define art.
You study Bach.
Yes. Like,
and then you listen to it. You listen to it, and then you study it, and then you listen to it again.
Yeah, and then like I finally have it in me to start playing the piano again, and I'm like my mom also dumped a bunch of old stuff at my house, and I'm like, I played this. I don't remember having played this at all, and then I try it, and I'm like, ooh, this actually sounds kind of interesting. I might practice it later, like. And then like a lot of my old familiar stuff too. It's like, because I actually learned Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, right? Everybody knows the first movement. Very few people know the second movement, and a couple people know the third movement. I'm like, I want to practice all three movements again, especially the second one, because the second one's very short. It's only 2 pages, and then the third one is really cool because you're running up in arpeggios up the it's really amazing when you can, like, I don't think I can do it at concert speeds, but I can at least do it, like pushing my limits up and up and up. That's that. And it sounds awesome. Because it's like, you're trying to, like, people who don't know how easy it is to actually play it, they look at me like I'm this freaking genius. And it's like, what are you talking about? This is just all arpeggios. It's all arpeggios on the chord, on the simplest chord imaginable. Right? It just looks really impressive because I've practiced it very slowly for hours and hours and hours before I can show off, at max speed.
Yes, you're developing excellence in music.
Yeah,
it's good. I encourage excellence.
Yeah, it turns out all of that East Asian tiger parrot stuff actually does pay off in ways you don't expect, right? Like, yes, very traumatizing, and it is a lot of work, but like when it starts paying off, it's like, oh, okay, this is why my parents made me do all this stuff that I thought was a pointless waste of time. It's like, oh, it's
yeah, you kind of have to be forced to do things that are good for you when you're a kid.
Yeah, but unfortunately I'm not a kid anymore, so they can't do that script at me anymore, alas. and it frustrates them as much as it frustrates me to try to negotiate with my parents. No, mom and dad, you don't really need to hold my hand like I'm a baby anymore. Right? It's okay to treat me like an adult, but they still want to because I'm their baby girl. So it's like, I can do it. I can be more patient with my dad because my dad at least speaks engineer. So I can speak engineer with him. But my mom is completely on the mom script, my widow baby. And I'm like, no, nope, you don't get to do that to me. Sorry, mom.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully you'll figure out something good and
Yeah.
keep practicing the piano.
Yes.
What kind of piano do you have? Do you have like an upright?
Well, when I moved to like somewhere in somewhere around like 2004, I bought myself a little Casio something or another, one of those like 88 weighted key babies,
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to practice piano. And unfortunately, I've let it sit in very bad environments. So now the bottommost key has lost its little spring action thing. It's stuck. It doesn't play music anymore. I'm so sad. But I also don't have the money to replace because I called in with a guy that fixes pianos, and he heard my plight, and he's like, yeah, you might as well just buy a new piano at this point, right? Electric one, or like a new, like an entire baby grand at least. And I'm like, well, I don't have that kind of money, so that's going to be like that's so far down my wish list that I might as well just play this piano until all the keys die, and then I'll think about it. Another electric piano.
You can sometimes get uprights that are in decent shape for free.
Sometimes, but like, who the heck am I going to ask for that kind of thing?
Well, you just look on Craigslist. Somebody's just trying to get rid of the piano because their mom had it, and they don't want it. But like, it comes with an asterisk, right?
Right.
It's like you have to move that.
Yeah, I don't think
I've moved pianos before. It is a nightmare.
Yeah.
No, I don't have any friends that would help me move a piano. So
you need
I don't
bulky friends.
Huh?
You need beefy friends. You need like offensive linemen.
I don't have any offensive lineman friends. I would have to pay two guys in a truck.
Yeah, that's actually the sensible way of doing it. So.
Yeah.
That was an interesting thing I saw was a documentary on the construction of a grand piano.
Ooh.
And they have it. So they go through the whole process of how they form the wood and stuff, and how they leave it here, whatever. And they have a brand new one fully assembled, and they have the people in the factory there, and they've got 6 people moving it around. And then it goes and shows you being delivered to a place, and you've just got 2 guys carrying it upstairs. 2 big guys carrying it upstairs. So that was a fun contrast.
Don't drop it, otherwise the guy at the bottom's dead. Because it's just So anyway, I hope your piano, all the rest of the keys, has a long life ahead of it.
Yes, thank you. So do I. Hopefully, now that I am managing my life a little bit better, I can maintain this thing better than before.
The poetic way of informing the world, very important. Music and art.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one day I might be able to art again. So at least digitally. I've been trying to draw, but I've also been using a lot of physical and mental energy doing some other stuff higher than my wish list. But let's see. I think Mark's channel has it. Mark's channel has me dropping everything that I still kept from my old digital art. So anybody who is even remotely arty can go there and look at it and give me constructive criticism, because I need a lot of constructive criticism to get better at art.
That's why we need the picture pairs, Father. That's to get bridge people over to that way of thinking again.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so Mark can link people to where I've been dropping all my art. I think. Have you seen it?
I have not. I have not. I want to pick up the thread that Mark's dropping off there. Do we need to go with something a little more popular?
No, I don't think so. I think that any well-authored secular literary piece would work. I just think there's like 4 or 5 of them. But I'm thinking that maybe Melville's got one, right? Because you need something that's layered and connected and fractal. And the number of books that are like, look, I love Jack London, but couldn't do it with his stuff at all because it's not fractal. They're great stories.
So you think
they're not deep.
You think it's going to be really necessary for us to have one cohesive narrative world that we're doing this? We couldn't just do like a grab bag of like, we're going to put.
We could. No, we could do a grab bag. I mean, that would work in theory. I mean, part of the reason why I did the Republic was not because I've actually read it a whole 1 times, because that's not sufficient for this project. It's because I was 100% positive, and I was completely correct, that the AI could get me 90% of the way there on the bulk of the regular work and do a good portion of the image work. And I was right. Like, it totally did that. So we're just in tweaking phase, which granted is going to take, probably 2 more weeks of part-time work, easily. Right. But man, that's quick. Especially for a visual practice. Right. Normally I would have several $1 million or something, and I'd be able to just pay my buddy down in South America and sit with him, and he would be thrilled. And we'd all be happy, because I would love to just do nothing but send him very large amounts of money. But I'm poor, so I can't do that. But I'd have him draw the whole damn thing if I could. I thought about it. I was like, is there a way that I can scare up enough money to pay him? Nope, there is not. Okay, well, we'll wait for more book sales then, and game board sales, which are coming. But yeah, it wouldn't matter. I just thought using a single book would be easier, because it would be more clear to the people that were familiar enough with them. That's why I was like Moby Dick, but we're gonna have to ask somebody who's read Moby Dick more than I have, right? And then
something like The Lord of the Rings might have enough depth to it.
Yeah, you could. You might be able to get away with that. Yeah. Again, well, I've read that twice, so I've got the bridge around here somewhere, but I don't know that I want to go through it. And I don't know. I mean, I can't.
I mean, it's not a super care. I mean, like, there's some really good characters in there, but
yeah, I don't know how much fractal anything there is, because it's more like a very large.
Well, it's like you got to get back into the Silmarillion when you want to see these patterns repeating.
That would be the issue for me, and I've never read the Silmarillion. That would be the issue. Is I suspect the patterns are all sitting in the Silmarillion, although there might be some between the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. I'd have to. Yeah, it's just that's a big. And again, I can't do that. I've only read it twice, so that would not work.
We'd have to get some real Tolkien nerds in on this.
Yeah, and hopefully someday we will. But like I've got, and then for that one we'd have to switch artistic styles. I've got a working artistic style for this one that actually worked surprisingly well. It was a trick that I kind of figured might work, and I was just happened to be right about that one. Yeah, real lucky with that particular project. That project's been going gangbusters, because I've just been getting lucky after lucky. And well, I'm pretty good at using the AI anyway, but I knew roughly what I wanted. And because it's the Republic, I already had the style down. That I was using that style back on the Vervaeke server for the Wisdom community stuff we started originally that got blown up. So
maybe Shakespeare would be good. He's got such fun characters. I think they're fun characters. I know you think he's a little basic, Mark, but
I've only read one Shakespeare play. I hate iambic pentameter and want to murder people when I hear it. So not a fan.
Oh man.
Make Shakespeare into an image instead of a poem, and then Mark might be able to handle it.
I don't know how fractal it is. So like, I mean, I'd have to go all the way back, right? So
like one of my favorite things to do is to imagine Othello and Hamlet switching places. and then both of their plays. Well, Hamlet just turns into a one act play because Othello just does as he's told and becomes king. And then when you put Hamlet in Othello's story, he and Iago just start scheming back and forth endlessly.
So
And it's really fun.
in Julius Caesar, to the best of my memory, and that was sophomore year of high school, so
Mhm.
that was a public high school too. There's not enough fractal story in there.
We do like the whole Shakespearean corpus.
You would have to do the whole corpus, maybe. But I don't. Again, now I'm completely blind. Like I have no idea if there's any fractal stuff through.
Yeah, sure. So like, I mean, I don't know if it's quite again to the level of fractal, but I think you could do a lot of poetic information just by comparing and contrasting, right? So,
well, you want two corollary stories like we had in the Basilica, because they're linking Old Testament and New Testaments. You want to do something similar, right? You want to link the stories so they're slightly different, slightly the same, and the highlight is the words, because people are going to key in on the words and then they're going to lock in on the contrast.
all right. So I'm just spitballing here. We could take like Iago and Mark Antony. You know, both of them are really good at speaking, but how are they different at it?
Can you do that visually though? Like, what would be the picture look like?
Oh, you want to do it visually? That's right.
Yeah, I have to be
Okay,
picture.
yeah.
It's one line and two pictures. This is your thing. You're the one that infected me with this idea. So.
Well, okay, but I just do it with the Bible, and everybody thinks it's great. You know, like.
But it's not gonna work for my audience. That's the problem. They don't speak Christianese. They're not gonna know any of that garbage. They're gonna be like, "What's this trash? Who are these
Garbage, garbage." He says,
whipping.
"Garbage should throw you off my stream and drive down to South Carolina and beat you with a rubber hose for saying that."
Peterson's not gonna understand any of this stuff. Come on, Peterson's got to understand it.
Oh,
He's just gonna psychoanalyze it.
yeah.
Well,
yeah.
you see, Judas was just a puppet, and because he was a puppet, his psyche was infected, and he couldn't self-actualize through the Jungian method.
Oh dang. Okay, I thought the other this thing has a microphone I could use. I thought wrong. I have to use the shitty mic. I'm sorry. Anyway.
Well, there's just going to be this faint ringing in my ears for the next 3 minutes.
Well, does this help?
Getting a little closer.
Like, oops. Let's see.
Whatever's ringing in the background, just stop it.
Let me see. Hold on. I might have a couple of fans running because, Florida.
Well, we're getting to the part of the part of the stream where I've only got a couple of fans left.
How do I turn this off? Okay.
All the fans have left.
Yeah.
Dang diddly dag, damn it.
I don't have any fans. I've got air conditioning. It's the only way to live down south.
Okay, I just unplugged the only fan that I can unplug. Is that better? Because
it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, because the computer, the CPU also has a fan, and I'm trying to move the mic as far away.
Get to the point. 2 minutes.
Okay, so yeah, the point is, if Mark wants to do Shakespeare on his stream, I could provide the doodles on MS Paint.
Yeah, well, now that I'm recalling the scope and extent of this project, we've got to like, it's the whole. We got to become better than the advertisers, right? Because what do advertisers do? They tell you an entire story in like 5 seconds, right? Like the setup, the stakes, the characters, like they just boom, they get you there real quick. So we gotta get some marketing people in on this of like, how do we tell these stories really quickly? Because even with even with the the Basilica stuff, right? Like I can look at it and I can read it, but like that's because I already have the stories in me, so they don't have to start from zero and sell me Krelm toothpaste or whatever. So,
well, I don't know that we have to get that sophisticated with it, but it's worth thinking about. I mean, I'm happy to entertain the Shakespeare stuff if we can get it rolling. But yeah, I might work more on the Republic stuff because it's almost there. I finished all the way up to book 5, and I don't know what 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 look like because I haven't they're not in my brain right now. But I'm looking at those next, so we're at least halfway towards the finalization because I think the first 5 are actually in good shape.
well, we're far more than halfway through this stream. In fact, we're at the end of it, and it's dark outside, and I'm very tired, and I'm looking forward to bed. So, yeah, and the only rational thing for me to do is to follow through on that promise. So, good night. Thank you all for your participation, your time and attention, and God bless you all.